Welcome to the Honor Movement, where we always take the vertical approach. So I fell off my bike, first time in a very long time, and unfortunately I suffered some bruises, but other than my ego, there were no serious injuries. I'm going down, I'm riding down the famous South Beach Strip, and it's something that I've been doing almost every week now. You know, it's kind of my little routine, and I'm going down, I'm on the sidewalk, and somebody walks out in front of me. Actually, a couple walks out in front of me, and I admit I wasn't paying attention, and you know, I jammed on the brakes really quickly, and before I knew it, I was halfway over the handlebars, and you know, my bike broke my rear derailleur. Those are words that I learned after the fact, and ended up having to put the bike in the shop. But you know, I realized some things that happened to us, and I realized that there are things that happen to us, I should say, whenever we fall down, whenever we take a stumble, whenever things don't work out the way that we assume that it should work out. And you know, after falling off of my bike, I could admit there was a level of embarrassment. But you know, there was this process that I was going through that, you know, the first thing that came to mind was, you know, I panicked. How am I going to get home? I'm 6 miles away from my house, and I've ridden out here, and I've always ridden back. But now I don't know how I'm going to get home. It's not like I could just call an Uber or a Lyft because I have this bicycle with me, you know. And I mean, again, that's a part of it, is the panic, is that I didn't even think, well, I could have actually called a bigger car to come get me. But you don't think that way whenever you stumble, whenever you go through trauma, if you could call it that. But how do we deal with this? I realized that I started to take on these emotions that weren't healthy, that they weren't natural. And one of the things that I started to experience was shame. I'm an athletic guy. I've always been an athletic person. I still love to train and to be strong and to compete and do all those things. But at the same time, I can be a little bit clumsy, you know? And part of the reason why is because I don't always pay attention. You know, if you lend me something, there's a good chance that I'm going to bring it back to you with a scratch in it. And, you know, this has always been like a sense of shame for me. And so that shame, you know, the way that we talk to ourselves, you know, that could be damaging. But there's also something else that starts to come in, that fear, that negative self-talk. I'd been thinking about getting a new car recently, and after falling off the bike and having to put it in the shop, and you start to say to yourself, like, you know, you're just going to do this to the car too. And if the bike's going to cost you $200 to fix, imagine how much the car is going to cost when you do that to the car. And so all this stuff that we put ourselves through just because we fell down, just because we fell down once. You know, I don't know how often, or if you watch any of the Marvel movies, the Avengers, and the Hulk is the beast. You know, when the Hulk shows up, things changes. But there's this thing that happens to the Hulk. You know, all throughout my life, I've watched the Hulk dominate. You know, we all know that when David Banner transforms into the Hulk, the show is over. But in the Avengers, in the Infinity Wars, I don't know if you've seen this, the Hulk, David Banner, transforms into the Hulk and jumps on this ship to fight this guy named Thanos. And it doesn't go the way that it always goes. Thanos whoops him and slams him back to Earth. What I realized after that, he ceases to be the Hulk after that. After he takes this L, he no longer has that persona. He almost changes into somebody else. And I've seen this before with boxers and martial artists and all the, you know, fighters, that whenever they take their first loss, something that happens to them, like it changes their entire persona. And that happens to us too. It's probably happened to you, because you can probably remember a time in your life when you were so vibrant, you were so courageous, you were so full of life, and you took a L. Something didn't go your way. And all of a sudden you lost your edge. You're not the same person anymore. You've lost your joy. I understand that we're going to fall down. I understand that I know that we're going to face challenges. But I believe that challenges, falling down, should challenge us more than it changes us. And if it's going to change us, let it change us for the good. Let's get back up. Let's find purpose. You know what? One of the things I realized that after I stopped panicking and start to wonder, how am I going to get back home? I realized, listen, it's only 6 miles. I've walked 6 miles before. Maybe I haven't walked that 6 miles, but I've walked 6 miles before. And if I've done it before, I could do it again. So I started to walk back home. And a lot of times we have to realize that you have what you need right inside of you to get back to where you need to be. You have the ability to get back to yourself. And as I'm walking back, and if I can paint this picture for you, I'm walking on the causeway. My buddy's driving one way to come get me, but I know there's heavy traffic, so I'm trying to meet him. There's the famous Fisher Island on one side, and Star Island on the other side, and I'm just, I'm making my way back. And as I'm making my way back, I think about this concept that I had processed before. And I realized, man, this would have been so helpful for me in this moment. If this concept existed right now, this would have saved the day. And I want that to be the process that we go through. Whenever we fall down, let's allow it to create something great in us. Let's use the stumble that we had, the falling down, to create something great. Because we use great things and great experiences, even when they're rooted in falling down, I should say, and we can use that to create great things. And we can use great things to create a greater world. And I know that we all want to live in a greater world, because you and I, we all know that us humans, we're not as bad as they say we are. And we have to get back up, because we know that the next generation is watching.